All right, episode 6, Parapsychology. All right, here we go. Joey Ray. Got some notes this time, guys. All right, so this is a cool episode because we got a lot going on in the world right now. It's a pretty crazy place. Obviously, don't need to say that. Everybody can feel that. But basically, what's going on is I'm going to do a quick episode. It's going to touch base on episode 5 because episode 5 is all about the meditative dancing thing, and I cannot emphasize that enough. And I know from anybody who watched the episode, who watched it through and watched its entirety, is it's going to be one of those things that's kind of hard to believe, right? It's one of those things that's kind of like, but hey, that's parapsychology for you. Parapsychology is, just for the definition, because we always start the episodes off with the definition of parapsychology. Parapsychology is it's the alleged, right? The alleged. It's tough to prove this stuff, right? So it's the alleged study of alleged psychic phenomenon, including basically telepathy, telekinesis, psychokinesis, psychometry, precognition, clairvoyance. Then you also have other things such as near-death experiences, synchronicity, which is where I come in, and then also apparitional experiences, okay? So, et cetera, et cetera. Parapsychology is the study of spiritual phenomenon. So it's one of those things. It's tough to prove. So you just gotta, sometimes you just gotta kind of listen to what people's experiences are, and kind of make up your own mind. And any people are welcome to watch my videos and make up their own mind. But I have plenty of stuff backing up all of my theories and all of my things, and I have witnesses in a lot of my stories. And then I also, for the meditative dancing, I can just dance. So anyways, but it's one of those things where on a physical level, it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna on a physical level, it's just dancing. But that thing is that like on another level, and I'll get to that later. It's like that's where the magic happens. But if you're just stuck on this, where you're just looking at things in the third level dimension, then it's kind of one of those things. You got to expand your mind a little bit, expand your consciousness, expand your space, expand your heart space, expand everything. And even me, I'm no expert. Okay, so let's just get that in the forefront. So the first 5 episodes we've talked about 9/11 signs, God being the original GPS, UFO encounter in the dance meditation, and we have, excuse me, guys. And we're back. All right, and we have and I have a little key card here, which goes over all the different things that I've experienced with those things. And there it is, right there. You guys can read it. But meditative dancing, Reiki, synchronicity, telepathy, psychokinesis, clairsentience, precognition. Clairsentience is kind of like clairvoyance. Or clairaudience. It's basically a connection to something that's coming from another place, but it's actually giving you information. Clairvoyance is when you're seeing it through the third eye. Usually clairaudience is when you're hearing it. Clairsentience is when you're feeling it, and I can feel it, and I'm an empath on a high level. So I just want to kind of go over parapsychology. It's a very important study of a lot of things, and even Albert Einstein, one of the smartest guys in the world, funniest, he was very funny too, said that basically the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have a created society that worships the servant and has forgotten the gift, and I agree to that 100%. You look at society today, the madness that's going on. I think that's people were acting more intuitively. I don't think that they'd be destroying their own stuff. And destroying, in taking the lives of others, in order to demonstrate or protest against somebody who had their life taken in a violent way. So just kind of, and the intuitive mind is a it is a sacred gift, and it is something to be studied, and that's why I'm making these videos. And synchronicity, as far as synchronicity is concerned, that's where my specialty is. I mean, you can kind of consider myself, I'm an anomaly. That's kind of like the way it happens with me is unbelievable. It starts rubbing off on other people around me. I've been told like I can just literally, people have to actually work to make a difference. I can literally just walk down a street, and just me walking down the street will actually kind of like make a difference, you know what I mean, in a way, just because of the way my energy kind of flows. It's different. I have a different I have a different form of energy. It's tough to explain, but synchronicity is the reason for it. And this synchronicity, I didn't realize, that's why this meditative dancing, you can see all the check marks here. I pretty much you can see how that fifth video, the meditative dancing, you can see how significant that was. I mean, pretty much every single thing there, the Reiki, the synchronicity, the telepathy, the psychokinesis, I mean, it was all hitting on an amazing level, the clairsentience and all that stuff. I mean, so so basically the first episode I talked about 9/11, and I talked about basically that I had precognition. I had 2 dreams prior to 9/11. I had a dream about being on an airplane that crashed. I had another dream about being in a building where there was a bad spirit in there, okay? And I was trying to get out, okay? And so those were my 2 dreams. And then the morning of, I went into work. The guy next to me had a radio. I had some sort of telepathic or some sort of crazy experience where my heart rate and everything dropped. I became very, very ill. I had to run upstairs to the bathroom. Thought I was gonna have to call 911. Didn't have to call 911. As soon as it came on, it was kind of like a spiritual thing. It left. Went downstairs. As soon as I got downstairs, heard the breaking news saying that that there was a attack, or that there was a plane crash, I should say, under the First Trade Center. And the guy that was sitting next to me with the radio, he was the one who said, "Oh, what a dummy! I can't believe somebody flew a plane into the Trade Center." And at that point, there was no news that the second plane hit yet. And I said, "Dude, we're getting attacked right now. I had dreams about this," and that's when the second plane hit. And they said, "More planes in the sky." But think about this. So I had the precognition 2 dreams before that were relevant. I had the synchronicity of the whole event, of actually being tied to it in a way of like telepathically having this crazy spiritual thing as the first plane was hitting the trade tower. And then I had a family member, right, that was indirectly tied to me, not a direct family member, but somebody that married into family, indirect. But I was at a wedding with this person, and they're young, they're kids. And I was actually the ring bearer when one of the kids was actually the flower girl. Her mom was one of the stewardesses on American Airlines, that first plane. So all of that being said, that precognition, that synchronicity, that telepathy of the event, being able to, the psychokinesis of being connected to it, even though I'm not there, that I was psychically connected to this event that was happening in New York City, and I was in Providence, Rhode Island, or Attleboro, Massachusetts, right outside of Foxborough, to be more specific, at the Emerald Square Mall. So, I mean, that was the first event. That was in September 11th of 2001. The signs thing was more of just synchronicity, and I could say a little bit of psychokinesis, but saying a little bit of prayers, of just seeing a girl that was in need, that was drunk, and that was in kind of a desperate situation. A bunch of predatory dudes going up to her, trying to grab her. My crew scooped her up. We were able to get her out of there, and then I was able to kind of get her to come with me, and then I was able to bring her home. As I was bringing her home, I was just thinking to myself about all the work that I had just done to just safeguard this girl, and how it was the work over hours of work to try to work that somehow. And it happened. It fell into the place where I was able to, it was almost like the universe was like, okay, we see your intentions. We're going to grant you your wishes. We're going to give you this opportunity, and let's see if you actually come through. And it was like, yeah, I came through 100% in spades. I was like, as soon as I had a chance to bring her home, I was like, do you want to go home? I'm sure she does. She was like, yes, I do. Let's go. Brought her home. And then the shooting star that came over the sky, that streaked over the sky, as I was thinking, like directly relating time, space, dimension, as I was looking at the sky. It's the 1 second I was driving that I actually looked up at the sky for a second, and I was just thinking to myself, God, you must be thinking to yourself, like what are you thinking right now, all this stuff I just did, and it was just like shooting star, you know what I mean? So it was like pretty amazing stuff, but like, you could just say, oh, it's a coincidence, not so much like the first one. The second one, the GPS, God's real GPS, that's an amazing story. That story is just kind of cool, just seeing as I'm about to GPS a grocery store in a foreign area, I see God is the original GPS in the church. I start following, instead of the phone and GPS, I start just following just my own intuition. My own intuition leads me to somewhere I can pray for an accident. That looks like it just happened, lights everywhere, to the next situation at the grocery store where I can help a handicapped gentleman, somebody that was in more need than me. And then third part of the situation where I could actually counsel somebody that was in need of counsel, that was in an emotional and psychologically distraught situation that was affecting not only her, but her family and her children at home. So I was able to give counsel in that situation, in a foreign person in a foreign land, out of those three things. Pretty cool stuff. It has a story of the synchronicity there, obviously, with the God of the original GPS, just like the synchronicity with the signs, with the shooting star, just like the synchronicity with the 9/11 of like having all that stuff happen while I was at the mall. Synchronicity tied to all this stuff, mainly synchronicity. And some telepathy, some psychokinesis, some Reiki, and the dancing starting to come. But anyway, so the GPS is definitely a very, very cool story. Christian story, very, very cool. Love it. All you Christian haters can just go, whatever, you guys are garbage anyways, talking all that smack against Christians. What you got hating on Christians for? All right, so anyways, the UFO experience. The UFO experience touched on basically telepathy of basically somebody saying, look up. And again, it wasn't a voice, it was a thought. It was a thought that came into my mind that I knew was not my thought. It came out of my own, it was a thought, but it was like, I was like, that's a weird thought, look up. That's a weird thought for me to have out of nowhere. And then so I looked up, I honored the thought, and then look up further. And I was just kind of like look up further, you know what I mean? And I bent my back so I could see behind me, then the land coming from, saw the ship before it got over me, told me and my friend, blah, blah, blah. I had a chance to walk out of the way. It was like, no way. This thing can find me anywhere I go, obviously. It just communicated with me. So I sat there, nothing happened, but flew right over the top of us and, didn't go up to the ship or anything that I know of. And then the ship went over the sea and broke up into like this crazy transformer of other ships, like meditative dancing all over the sky. It felt like that's kind of the way it was. They were just shooting all over the sky. Or it was a bunch of smaller ships came out of this bigger ship. I don't know. I couldn't tell because it was at that point probably about a good, couple miles offshore, right? That was episode 4, and that the synchronicity there is just being in the right spot at the right time, and just being right there on the beach and having this thing communicate with me. And it's not like as if it just came off, whatever, and I saw it beforehand. That's one thing. And I was just like, wow, we just happened to be standing right there. We're standing right there, and the thing I had look further up, the thought that it was communicating with me. So straight up. So think about that. Okay, so those 4 things before we get to the meditative dancing. Okay, so before you laugh at this meditative dancing video that I did about being able to dance. And then as I was dancing, doing this for so long that I actually had energy that was in here and then got it off my hands, but then was like, oh my God, I got to bless it. So I blessed it with the only prayer that I really knew how to bless it at that point, but it was sincere and it was authentic. Okay, so here we are, episode 5. But all those things, the 9/11, the precognition, the dreams, the telepathy event, the synchronicity of it, I have witnesses of it. The signs one where the shooting star, the GPS one, God is the original GPS, the UFO sighting, I have witness to that one. So that's 2 major ones, 9/11 and the UFO one, both have witnesses to. All of them have to do with synchronicity, like crazy synchronicity. All of them have to do with telepathy. That's on a high level of feeling, like psychokinesis, of feeling things in a place where even though I'm not even there, and being able to have some influence over them. So these are some things, man. These are some things for sure. And that's why when I say, like, people laugh at this meditative dancing, people laugh at me. And because I don't look like anything special, and I'm not anything special. I'm really not. And this isn't, when it comes right down to it, I am a piece of nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and that is the truth. Like, parapsychology is the study of all this stuff, right? And basically the study of the intuitive mind, and Albert Einstein talks about all this stuff. But, as human beings, that's really our purpose here on this planet, is to study all this stuff and to kind of get, like, in tune with our own intuitive nature inside, you know what I mean? And, but, people, there's different people. Some people were meant to work on cars, they're mechanically inclined. Some people are meant to work on, computers, they're software inclined, right? Good with numbers. Some people are meant to work on people. They're just great with doctors, or they're great with helping people work through mental things or whatever. and traumas and stuff like that. And so some people are just meant like that. But if you take somebody who's a mechanic and put them on, somebody who's supposed to work on people, and take somebody who's supposed to work on people and tell them to go work on a car, or take somebody who's a software person that does computers and tell them to go work on a car now, it's like a wrench monkey, like in a garage, it's like putting it's like telling somebody who fixes cars to go become a massage therapist if they're not inclined to do it, or have any, or a massage therapist, vice versa, to become a mechanic if they're not mechanically inclined. It's just not going to be good. So there's different levels of, everybody has gifts, and everybody has different levels of consciousness and different levels of intelligence, and nobody is the end all be all. We all together is what makes the human race, so special when you get right down to it. And everybody has a piece of the puzzle. That is true. That is truth to that saying. And so, you know what I mean? But with my thing is I can pick up on things on a high level. I don't know how this stuff works, but I'm able to tap into things. I'm able to move energy around in ways. And through meditative dancing, I'm able to get into these spaces or places or whatever you want to say. It's tough to say, but a lot of it comes through synchronicity, so it's out of my control, which is even crazier, and that's where the parapsychology comes into, maybe higher self. I don't know. And then I'm telepathically, inclined. That happens with me. I've had it, with UFOs and with other experiences, with 9/11 and all of these experiences. So, So just touching on this thing, basically, sorry about that. This is episode 6, and I just wanted to kind of just say, hey, I know when you hear episode 5 and you say there's no way that you came up with your hands, and as you came up with your hands, you were the crowd was going with you rather than with fish. There's no way that happened. You were either out of your mind. Some people might ask me, what type of drugs were you on? You know what I mean? Or were you were you drunk out of your mind? What are you talking about? You think that you had energy and you could control the crowd and almost not control it, but just the crowd was more interested in the energy coming off of your hands, and was actually you could feel that energy from the crowd coming up from me, from the hands, as my hands went up, and when I pulled it down, they went down. Even though Fish was no longer doing that in their music, Fish had now gone into a different part of the song where they were now going horizontal or whatever. And it's funny to think about music like that, but music does move like this. Music moves in all different sorts of ways. You know what I mean? And so I'm not some sort of just throwing out nonsense here, or just some sort of schizophrenic, where I'm I'm making up stories here, blah, blah, blah. These are things that have happened in my mind. And I actually have witnesses for a lot of this stuff. The 9/11 and UFO specifically, and that's two of my biggest stories. The meditative dance, it was tons of people around me, there's nobody really I could really say, that's one of those things where it's it's just what I felt from the experience, but it leads into a ton of other stories. And that's it. The meditative dancing, when you get right into it, that is basically, when I started to really pay attention. I didn't even though that 9/11 thing happened, I always kept it in my mind of what the heck happened that day, and how there was so many connections to it. And but I didn't know at that point how significant all the connections were, and I hadn't put it together yet. And that UFO sighting that happened in 2008, right when I got out of the Air Force, still I hadn't put it together yet. And that of all the synchronicities and everything that had happened so far in my life, and that were about to happen in my life, and how significant this stuff was, and that it could actually help other people, that this could help maybe mankind. The synchronicity that goes on around me is something that could possibly be used to help a lot of things. So the meditative dancing is huge. So when I make a video on that, I know people want to say, oh geez, I've been following videos of somebody who's obviously mentally just making stories up or whatever, and it's dude, not true. So, and you'll see. There's gonna be more videos coming, and different things over time. But all right. So basically, but it's the journey. The journey from the meditative dancing, concert to concert, festival to festival, show to show. That's all. That's what started happening. Started to become my spiritual journey, and my spiritual practice. So you talk about having a practice, yoga, whatever. I would do yoga before every single show or every single time I would meditative dance. I would pray before every time I would meditative dance. As I was dancing, I'd be praying. I would do all sorts of spiritual practices throughout the day, all sorts of good karmas. I would go and help people and do all these good deeds and do everything and build up all this amazing positive karma and then send that karma out as I was dancing. I mean, there was things that I was doing that was like so on such a high level to what I was doing, and it was all just to spread goodness and spread good karma and love and everything, and I became a target for that for a while because of this, and there's some dark forces out there, and they don't like that stuff, and just like just like the stories I talked about, just like that the meditative dance where I was actually dancing, and when I actually said that Hail Mary prayer, I felt in thoughts that came into my mind, and the energy behind it was foreign. It wasn't my thoughts and it wasn't my energy, and it was very like boom, like it hit me, and when it hit me, like knocked me almost like backwards, like almost off my space, where I had to like re-step and like regain my step as I'm dancing. Bang, hits me super hard as I said that Hail Mary prayer, wherever I got done, and I was like, all right, good, it's blessed. Because at that point, it was like, what are you doing? Why are you saying that prayer here? There's way more other people than Christians here, blah, blah, blah. That prayer is just, and it's like, that's relevant. That's like relevant, like, because like there is a lot of anti-Christian sentiment out there in the world. There is a lot of let me say it again, Christian sentiment throughout the world. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. People beating up on Christians, acting like taking our kindness for weakness, and always coming at us, and just making just really like trying to just move Christianity out of everything, shutting down our churches, dude. Like throughout everything of this whole pandemic, like, and everything's open, but like they still don't want people doing churches or anything, and it's just crazy. I mean, I don't go to the church as much anyways myself, just because I don't think there's a lot of churches out there. I haven't been to all of them. But, I've been to some that are good. But there's a lot of churches that I've been to that I just haven't really felt it in. And so it's not a knock, but that one church I saw that one day with that God is the original GPS in Pennsylvania, that church had it going on. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, I want to wrap this video up. I don't want to talk forever here. But that's a very special video, and my spiritual journey, very much so, has to do with the meditative dancing. So we're gonna keep continuing with that, and that's and you'll kind of see. But anyways, I can't promise that. You're just gonna have to judge it for yourself. But anyways, synchronicity and my numerology, my birth date. Once that meditative dancing happened, started opening up a lot of channels, a lot of things. I started thinking to myself. I started doing things in my mind because I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I just had some serious stuff happen here. And, once I fought back and said, screw that, I don't care, like, if this prayer helped one person out here in this show tonight, it's 10, 15,000 people, whatever it is, 18,000 people, whatever it is, 13,000, whatever it is that holds in that place, just helps one person in here having a troubled time right now, being attacked by bad spirits, then I am all for that prayer. And as soon as I said that, it was just kind of like that being knocked off, was just like right back and then on fire. My spirit was just like, let's go, dude. Like, it's game time. And it was like, honestly, it was like basically kind of like the energy change that happened in Super Bowl 51 when they were down 28-3. And all of a sudden, it was just kind of like, boom, what's up, people? Now we here. And we angry.